Hello, my friends. A new year's upon us, and I'm not one for resolutions, but I do tend to try to look at the past year and see what I felt like was holding to a good trajectory for me, and as I look forward, how I could change that trajectory to continue to grow as a person. And I've been reflecting, and this year it's really been on my mind, this idea of the Aloha Spirit, since we're here in Hawaii. And in addition to that, this thought was spurred by Kathy, one of our dear family of viewers here, who wrote an email to us that really brought this to mind. So this idea of the Aloha Spirit, and we've all heard that word aloha, but for a lot of people in Hawaii, it's a very real and tangible spirit that they try to embody. When I first came here, I was warned a lot about the native people would be unfriendly, and I'd hear the word haole a lot, and it was kind of a little tight-knit community here and you'd never fit in. That has not really been what I've found. In fact, I have not heard the word haole once here in Hawaii, directed towards me or anybody else. And all of my interactions with the native people have been awesome. It's, when I'm on a beach and I want to know about things, it's the first person I go up to is a native, and they will share all kinds of wisdom and thoughts and ideas and do it very friendly-ish. I've been pondering what was behind those warnings, because that's not everybody's experience. I've had friends who have come here and they've had some pretty negative experience with the native Hawaiian people. I'm fairly convinced that it's our preconceptions and how we approach people. So if you've seen the native Hawaiian men, especially, they're pretty big guys usually, and their facial features can sometimes appear, they can appear intimidating and sometimes not super friendly. It'd be easy to look around you and go, wow, the guy just glanced over at me and he gave me a real scowl. And I know that's not true, because there's been some people that I looked at and said, wow, he just gave me a look that did not look friendly. And then I went over to talk to him, and a minute later he's telling me about his kids and what they're doing in school and this secret place to go and this and this and this. And it calls me to remember how important it is that how we perceive people, how we look at our fellow humans in our minds and our hearts, is going to play a large part in what we experience. Because if I see that scowl, I'm like, scowl back, there's going to be a pretty predictable response probably. If I see that scowl and I just think that guy has a really mean look, and I leave with that story in my head, then that's the new story I've written about that person. And because I'm placing them in a group in my mind as a native Hawaiian, then I can apply that very easily to all native Hawaiians. And I start to form these ideas and biases in my mind. When Kathy wrote, she said she was beginning to look around herself and see that we were all part of, I'm going to put it in my own words, part of a grand team working together. And she said, it's kind of amazing that we can go to the farmer's market and interact with somebody who has spent all kinds of time growing some fruit for us to eat. And that, again, not her examples, but mine, my computer can break down. I can call up a computer technician, and that person has gone through all kinds of training in order to be able to come and fix my computer. Now, I've brought myself into maybe kind of a self-centered view of the world, and seeing how all those people are essentially serving me in a positive way. I don't mean serving like slaves, but serving in that idea of this grand service we can all give to each other. But it's not just me, everybody's doing it for everybody else. The road workers and the psychologists and the school teachers and the students and all these people working together in a harmony that's very easy to overlook, because our minds are very conditioned to look at the negative. And I can look around at the world and say, the world's falling apart. Here's what's wrong. The wars, the crime, I mean, here in the US now our life expectancy is going down due to opiate abuse, and there's an endless laundry list of the things that are going wrong in the system. And yes, those things are real, but also everybody is oddly working together in a way that is beautiful and is almost beyond comprehension, that we can all work together with what could almost be the equivalent of a hive mind that comes together often to really help each other have amazing things that 100 years ago would have been impossible. Think about it. Right now, you can sit down, you can call and order a pizza, and it will be at your doorstep soon. You can go and you can order goods. You can go hiking at a beautiful nature place, hopefully. You have that around you, that somebody has purchased and thought to preserve for the people that want to walk there and hike there. There's an endless abundance of this available to us. And in the same way that I can look and I can see all that's wrong in the world, or I can see the way that we're all working together in an almost miraculous team, that's a perfect mirror to me of how I could have come here and looked and said, the native Hawaiians, they're just going to call me names, they do not want me here, and I could have seen that experience. I know, because there have been those faces that looked like they were scowling. All I had to do was interpret it in a certain way and put a certain label on it. And then I would be telling you something very different about my experience here. I see the Aloha Spirit when people are driving, and there will be, because of the way the Big Island is arranged, the roads, the traffic, especially on the Kona side here, there will be times when it's just non-stop traffic and somebody from the side is trying to get out into the other lane, and all of a sudden you'll see the whole line of traffic here stops, and this whole line of traffic here stops, and they let that person through, and you don't hear anybody behind honking, what are you doing, stopping for that person. Everybody's stopping for that person and letting them in, because they know that they're not going to get out into that traffic for a half hour until the traffic finally dies down. Now, yes, there have been times when, like in any other driving situation, I've been cut off or nearly hit as someone swerves into my lane. So I could be reporting something very, very different about the Aloha Spirit in connection with driving. What are we going to report? When we ask that question, what we're going to report, what we're really asking is how we are going to see the world. And make no mistake that the way we see the world is going to influence the world. Because if I saw those scowls and I took them as scowls and I took offense and went and got in somebody's face about it, there could be fights. There could be violence. I could take it in that direction just by interpreting things differently. In many ways, I've seen things that I have interpreted in a negative way here in Hawaii. Our experience with the slugs and our experience with access to nature, I've allowed myself, through lack of positive discipline, to see those things in a more negative light. And that has colored my experience of nature here. And I see and take responsibility for that. And I'm not going to wholly blame it on nature here. If I had the positivity of discipline, could have interpreted things differently and could be telling a different story to you. So whatever it is in our life, our relationship with our family, our relationship with the city we live in and the people and our experience there, our relationship with nature when we go out into the forest and there's mosquitoes or leeches or whatever it is that gives us the chance to interpret it negatively or positively. What choice are we going to make? What are we going to report? And again, by that, I mean, what am I going to create in my mind so that that's the story that I tell? If we err on the side of telling positive stories, the world will seem different to us. And as I just was explaining, I'm not perfect at this. And none of us should expect ourselves to be perfect at it, because we're going to have our limits and the places where we cling tight to things. And hopefully when we feel ourselves clinging tight to things, when I see the way that I've interpreted nature here in Hawaii, I know that that's something that I need to look at. As this year extends out in front of me, I need to change my trajectory a little bit so that I can shift that perception, that perceptual habit that I have, or that place where I'm clinging to something, and be a little bit more pure or a little bit more positive in my viewpoint. Is this asking us to just ignore the bads? If you're in an abusive situation at home, to just be like, well, I'm just going to stay here and try to interpret it positively? No. There are situations that say it's time to go. So there it is, my friends. As we look forward to this year, could we embrace an aloha spirit with each other? See things as Kathy sees them. Everybody as part of this grand unified team that's all working together. And if we see places where that team is off and we're creating destructive things, could we shift the trajectory of the team in positive ways so that we're acting more harmoniously? Am I going to look out around me and say that person's skin color is different than mine, that person's religion is different than mine, that person's politics are different than mine? That's a choice we're all going to have. It's 2020. Here in the United States, our election's coming up. We can be on this two sides of this thing and just look at each other and think, what idiots could vote for Trump and what idiots could vote for whoever the Democratic nominee is going to be. And we could just get really, really negative about each other. But so many of these ideas, they've just been put into our heads. We haven't examined them. They're not our heart ideas. It's stuff we've bought into by listening to somebody else's dogma and just accepting it as our own. It's time for us all, I think, to say, let's throw that dogma out. Let's stop being brainwashed by whoever wants to put some stupid thought into our head, and let's live the Aloha Spirit. Let's look at each other and say, we are fellow astronauts on this planet Earth, flying through space. Wow. Let's come together. Let's see our commonality. And as we work as a big unified team, let's shift the trajectory of that team so that it can work more positively for everybody. Because it's not working positively for everybody, is it? But it can. If we personally take a more positive attitude, take more responsibility for the way that we think about others, about the world we live in, about the environment, and we start living that. My friends, that is my wish for this next year stretching ahead of us. That we all take our attitudes into our own hands, we get positive about it, we embrace this idea of aloha, we stop for people even when it inconveniences us, and we spread that around so that the people behind us, they stop too with gladness in their hearts. We can change and bust apart negative paradigms, negative biases and ideas, and we can come together. I know we can. It takes courage, and it takes some true examining of the thoughts and ideas that we hold to be our own, even if usually they've just been put in there by media and other sources. Let's take charge of our own mind, emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, and really, really look at this year ahead and live in a sense of togetherness. Love you all. Thank you for being part of our family here with these videos, and so much gratitude to all of you. Looking forward to the year ahead. Aloha.